Here's a little update on my pawpaw cultivation for this year. So virtually all of my established pawpaw trees have leafed out. So this one here and this one here, this one having far more leaves, this one being taller with less leaves. These two are the same age. I got them now 3 years ago at the Pawpaw Festival from a vendor. I'm pretty sure they're just a wild seed, so it's not a specific cultivar, these two. I'm considering planting them in the ground. Right now I have both of them in 5-gallon buckets. So they're about 4 feet tall, maybe around there, 3.5 or so. This one definitely probably over 4 foot almost. So these two are my oldest, these two tall ones. And then I have, so this one back here in this blue pot, this one is the same age as this one. Now these two look super different. I don't remember if they're from the same fruit, the seeds that these are from, but what I do know is that although they're the same age, this one died back last year. It was this one's height, but after a bad transplant, because the taproot on these plants is really sensitive, after a bad transplant or some issue with the soil that this one was in, because these are all in pots, this one died back and lost all its leaves. I thought that I had lost this one, and then it started growing back, but it started growing back from further on the base of the tree, and it just got super bushy, which makes sense because if the top growth dies back, well, of course it's going to grow from lower and end up being bushier. But this one is crazy. This one, it's all one tree, but it just has so many leaves, and it's just super bushy and it's very prolific. And I've noticed, I've grown this one in Texas and I've grown this one in North Carolina, and anywhere I've grown it, this pawpaw keeps its leaves for the longest part of the season compared to all these. These ones will have lost their leaves. This one will still have its leaves, and it's also the first to come back with all its leaves. So this one is just super leafy, and I don't know why, but it's already survived death once, kind of like I mentioned, and it's just blossomed back with all this incredible foliage. But it also holds on to that foliage, so it seems as though it's not as susceptible to cold. So this is one of the more interesting pawpaws that I have. And like I said, it's just this one and this one for sure. And I'm pretty sure this tall one and then this one. Those 4 are all from wild fruit. So they're not a specific cultivar. These are just luck of the draw, random pawpaw genetics. And this one I am the most interested in because this one is a super leafy pawpaw that seems very tolerable to cold conditions. So it might be protected from early frost if it ends up producing fruit. I'm not sure, but this one is one of the most interesting ones in my collection. And then just this last year, in 2025, we went to the festival and we bought our first cultivar. So this is, of course, NC1. I believe this cultivar was developed in Canada. And so this one is pretty tolerable to cold conditions as well. This one, interestingly, and maybe it makes sense, was the last to put on leaves. And I wouldn't even really call this putting on leaves, putting on a leaf at the top of the plant there. And of course, this one's grafted right here. But this is our true cultivar here. The rest of them I've all propagated from seed, from fruits. And considering this year, actually planting them in the ground, because I've seen pawpaws grow fruit from buckets, but it just doesn't seem that viable. I don't really have too much space here to grow them. It's mainly just a kind of forest setting, But if I put them on the edge of this foresty area, they might be able to get enough light to put on some good fruit, but certainly they'll have a better life than being in a bucket. So those are my 4 trees. Sorry, 5 trees. I have 4 that are wild type seeds and then 1 cultivar here. Okay, and then I also have these pots here with different seeds in them. I should have wrote on the pot. Yeah, basically the kind of fruit that the pawpaw came from, the qualities of that fruit. So these have only been in here for about, oh, this one's doing actually pretty well. It's hard to tell because pawpaws put out their root first, and then it'll be a while before you actually see anything come to the surface. So this looks good. Sort of harassing them here, but they really need to just kind of produce roots. And then at this point, with this one, I might actually just pull this one out and then put them in a different container, specifically a tree pot. So these ones are kind of just where I'm bulk germinating their seeds. And then I'll just dump this out and then sort through, find the ones that are sprouted, and then move them into tree pots. So here I have tree pots with single seeds, and then their taproot goes down, and then they come up with the cotyledons. So this is an interesting experience, dedicating them to these tree pots, because I have 2 that have their taproot, but they haven't come up with their embryonic leaves. And then I have 2 that have produced their taproot, and they did come up with their seed pod attached. And I don't know if you can see that. The seed pod broke off. It's around here somewhere. It was attached like there, the pawpaw seed, and then either from overwatering, stress, squirrels, I'm not sure, but that seed pod broke off, and it happened for this one too. That little stick there, that's a pawpaw root with a stem, no leaves. So will these survive? I don't know. I think I've had this happen before, where the seed detaches early, but what's really supposed to happen is that the seed falls off naturally, and because inside the seed is, of course, the rest of the plant. It has the leaves, the embryonic leaves, and then the seed pod falls off once the leaves come out of there. So I'm kind of curious what's going to happen. I have 2 examples of this to compare against. This one looks a little bit whiter, and then this one's darker right there. This is not really what I wanted, but that's okay, because we're going to see what happens with these. Totally experimental, and it's just a couple seeds. I have 2 more of the same fruit type seeds here, and then like I showed you with this one that's already producing its taproot. Actually, it looks like, oh no, that's just a stick. This one with the taproot. Today I'll likely move this one into a tree pot and see what happens there, but basically that's my pawpaw collection in terms of Asimina triloba. All these are Asimina triloba. I'm actually trying something sort of experimental in the pawpaw sphere, which is, well, I don't want to give too much away yet, but I do have right here, yeah, can't really see it too well because it's not much, but it is a small flowered pawpaw. So I think this one is Asimina parviflora, and this one grows wild in my area. It is, of course, in the pawpaw family, but this one is smaller in comparison. It doesn't grow as tall. The fruit is smaller as well. This one I harvested from the wild last winter. I have it just in a 2-liter bottle, and it does have some growth points. Let's see if we can get that kind of closer to the base of the stem. It did have a flower, or not a flower, it had a kind of a leafing out point closer to up here, but it broke off, and I think that, well, I know that the plant was not doing as well towards the top here. It could have been just from the cold winter we experienced, where the most extreme part of the plant basically died off. So I trimmed that back just today to see where the closest healthy part of the plant was, and it was all rotted up until about there. And then this I can see actually is green in the cambium there and everything. So that is the true, and everything past that is alive, presumably. So this one is Semina parviflora. It's a pawpaw, but it's a different species. And I'm gonna be, if this one takes off, I'm gonna see what I can do in terms of grafting or breeding and things like that. I think this will be a fun little experiment. I'm not sure, I've never really looked into it if anyone else has tried doing anything like that, but I thought it'd be fun. And plus they're growing wild here, so that's kind of what I'm gonna do with this specific species, Semina parviflora, but the rest of them, Semina triloba, and specifically this one, the leafiest pawpaw, I'm very curious about, and then the rest of them, which I'll update you once more things happen. But that's essentially where we are with the pawpaws. I had probably over 100 seeds, which I've sort of planted in this area, just to see what happens. I have nothing else really to do with them, so seeing if they'll just come up on their own, and just tracking to see what happens with all these. But so far, it looks like everything's gonna come back, some a little bit slower than others.